Jackie, here's the deal. If you want to court the little lady, you gotta be a straight shooter. Do you got it?
There's no flying in baseball!
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Why so serious?
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I love you.
No.
Here's Johnny!
Well, good evening, good morning, whatever time of day it is for all you basement dwellers out there. If you haven't heard my voice in a month, that's because I barely have either. And that is why we didn't have any episodes in the month of December. Because not only did the Grinch steal Christmas, but apparently he stole my voice. You can even ask Dace, I sounded terrible the entire month of December. I'm still not 100%, but at least I can speak.
It was a blessing and a curse.
I tried. We really did try. But I was to the point where, like, talking too much, I would get out of breath because I had no voice. And I was coughing so badly. I got whatever nasty flu virus just killed everybody, but I only got the cough from it. Like, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had, like, body aches, chills. I was just slowly hacking my lungs up.
Well, it didn't help
was
because there was like that 1 week in December that it all of a sudden decided to be summer and then went right back down to freezing temperatures.
And that's the problem is my allergies are so bad that when the weather's bipolar, I get it levels me like every time. So like the moment the weather freaks out, my body's done. Like it's like, oh no, fuck you. So like I got sick at the beginning and it was just that way there was a point where I believe I said I'd be willing to try meth if it would get rid of my cough.
I don't know if that would cure it, but it would definitely send you on a journey of some sorts.
I went and bought like that nasty like throat numbing Vicks spray and like medicated cough drops, and somebody said something else and I was like, honestly, I'd try meth at this point if it got rid of that cough. And they're like, well, let's try these first. And I was like, yeah, that's for the best. I was miserable. I'm still messy, so if I suddenly go quiet, just know I'm coughing. It's fine.
Well, welcome back.
Right, at least I lived through it, so that's a plus. So for this month, usually I'm not like this, but I decided to be a little obnoxious. It is my birthday, and I am forcing Dace to sit through my top 8 movies of all time. This week we are working on the bottom 4, which is, and not in order, but just I'm naming them chronologically. We have Aladdin, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 version, yes, with Keira Knightley, and what is one of my favorite and probably least loved movies of all time, Sucker Punch. So as you can tell, I have a very weird taste in movies because I will go right from animated to a Zack Snyder action film or a musical when you get to next week's, or not next week, next episode. You know what I mean. But I think for me with these, it's just about the nostalgia feel. It's rewatchability on my end. I think that's a big thing that we talk about all the time is the rewatchability of it. And with me, I will be sad and these movies will go on. Is it weird for some of them? Yeah, definitely. But it's just the movies that captured me and enamored me that make me want to stick around for them. Now, for the first 2, those aren't really hard because those are Disney classics. And if you don't like those movies, you're fucking weird.
So the one Aladdin is one of my top favorites. So like I always have like a top 3 when it comes to Disney,
Mm-hmm.
and Aladdin's the top when it comes to animated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
Aladdin,
for the mere fact that Robin Williams makes it, because The Return of Jafar does not hit as good as the original Aladdin, because nothing against Frank Casanella, who does the voice of Homer, he's just not Robin Williams.
which is totally fair. I think that movie all around was just a great like children's movie. Like Disney was doing so good with the kids movies back then, and it sucks that like they're not hitting the mark that they used to, because like you know you can see that they're running out of ideas, especially with the fact that they're like, oh, let's just remake what we already did but live action and piss people off.
Yeah,
like, the cartoon version of no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and they pivoted. So like back when we were kids, and aside from Nightmare Before Christmas, they did hand drawing, and they've really pivoted to the CGI Pixar style. And that's where you can kind of see not a degradation of work, but it's definitely not what we got when we were in the 90s or even before that.
Right. Well, and that's even different for The Nightmare Before Christmas because The Nightmare Before Christmas is claymation. And I think that is a lost art. I think claymation is such a beautiful form of film, and so many more people could do so much more with it if they just fucking tried the way Tim Burton does.
Yeah, and you can tell it influences later projects too. Because I mean, look at Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken really went the route of what Tim Burton does with his
Right.
kind of style in we'll put quotes around it, but his style of animation.
Right. Because I don't really think Tim Burton hasn't really done like I think there's very few fully just animated movies for him.
Mhm.
Most of his movies, especially the big ones, are either live action or claymation. So it's just such a huge difference, like you said, with like stuff like that. Like Aladdin, like especially like what like 10 or so years ago, Disney also went in and remastered all of those films. And it was cool to see because like they didn't really change it, they just enhanced it, which was nice.
Mhm.
Like now the marble looked a little bit cooler and like the colors were brighter and stuff like that. So they kept the classic, but like it's just hard when you're watching those or like when you go to watch like the live actions because like it's just so hard when you because you're going to compare.
Oh
You're
yeah,
always going to compare it.
and you run the risk these days now because animation does not old animation does not translate to an 8K TV very well.
No.
So Disney going back and trying to smooth that transition to put on like higher visual medias is pretty good. And the crazy thing is the two picks that you did for this, with Aladdin being 92 and Nightmare Before Christmas being 93, it's 2 years away from Pixar's first film of Toy Story.
Oh yeah.
So they were getting ready to start doing their transition because they did still do animated features. It was Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar, so you would get one from
Yeah.
one from the other. Now we're in an age where when you get a Walt Disney animation that doesn't have Pixar involved, it's still the animation style of Pixar, so that you don't get the
Yeah.
whole hand draw and feel anymore.
I do think the one thing that like one of the things I loved about like the older Disney movies was like they're on the shorter side, which is an easy just way to blow through them, but it's also like they got it done in that hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. Whereas nowadays most movies are it's weird if a movie is less than 2 hours.
Hmm.
So like the old
Well, I was gonna say it's
no,
also in the era too, where like those movies that they made for the big screen would eventually transition to the small screen with animated
right.
series for like after school TV
Yeah.
shows or Saturday morning cartoons. Because I even all the way up to like I think I want to say Lilo and Stitch, they would do a corresponding show that came out
I
either
think
before or after a sequence.
Tangled got one too.
Did they?
Yeah. Tangled
Oh,
got one too. Yep.
I also may have aged out of Disney cartoons with the Disney afternoon features by that
Absolutely.
point, but
I do agree with you. Like there were very of the like the classic Disneys, I don't think I watched most of the cartoons. I did watch the Lilo and Stitch one because it made sense because like you had to like continued things, especially once they started making the sequels because Lilo and Stitch sequels were one of the few times where they kind of stayed pretty good throughout like the sequels.
yeah, it's a hell of a concept. Stitch is 626, so there's
Yeah.
625 other experiments out there.
Yeah.
So you could have ran with a 625 episode cartoon. They didn't, but like
Yeah.
it'd been
But and
interesting.
I think like Aladdin does have one, but if
Hmm.
I'm not wrong, I believe Aladdin is like it's like a weird in between where like it's like still it's after the movie, but it's not. Like he's got the genie, but like it's between like I guess the other two and three. I'm not sure.
It's weird because he's still like a street. He's not Prince Ali.
Right.
He's
He's
still a
still a
street
beggar.
rat. Yeah. That was to me that was a hard transition one. Like whereas Hercules had an easier transition. Like all right, we'll just follow him through the high school years rather than like oh he's gonna go to Olympus or Stitch with the whole let's go
Yeah.
find the other experiments. But these were also like Aladdin really was a cash
Right.
cow. And I think the interesting note too with Aladdin is they just finally started releasing it, but Robin Williams, when he signed on to this, didn't want to be a part of like the marketing campaign or being the center focus of this movie, which he is,
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
makes the damn movie. But because of that whole contention with Disney of Disney's marketing machine, that's why he didn't come back for the sequel. And up until I would say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you couldn't get his songs on streaming services. like Spotify and shit
Huh.
like that, because they didn't release the rights to Robin's voice.
Well, that's like it's also funny too because like within those movies, like the song wise, that was one of the first Disney films, if not the first, to win a Grammy.
Mhm.
So A Whole New World was one of the first songs to win a Grammy. If I'm not wrong, like I think that was either Song of the Year or Song Inside Movie. Like it was a big category they won it for. So I think like getting into like those movies, like once we were getting to a point where like the animated films were starting to like almost become more like not serious, but like more like watched within like other than kids, because like that's when they're starting to like win awards that aren't just about animated films.
Yeah, and for the most part, when it came to Disney, that was their cash grab. Like now
Yeah,
it's the Marvel movies and the Star Wars franchises and stuff like that. But if a Disney animated feature came out, that was the big draw for the year.
especially a Disney princess. That
Mhm.
was the thing. When you were putting out a Disney princess, that was a big deal. So this one was kind of funny too because this one has a Disney princess, but she's not the center of the story technically. It's not
Mhm.
her story, it's Aladdin's. So that was kind of different too because if you look at a lot of the previous films before that, all of those movies, even though they had the Disney princess, they were about said princess.
Yeah, because I think the one before this was Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, Snow White, Cinderella, Little Mermaid, Sleeping Beauty, all of those were before Aladdin. I believe Beauty and the Beast was too.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think Aladdin was one of the newer ones
And
of that core group of Disney princesses.
the amazing thing, because we could turn this whole episode into Aladdin, because I love this movie so much, and I
Yeah.
think it shapes a lot of what my interest was going forward. But the fact that like usually an actor speaks to the cartoon and the animation, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure in this instance they let Robin go and then animated to him. Because
I
especially
think
like there's 100 different takes of like when he's doing impersonations and shit like that. They have to
let's
like
be
all of a
honest.
sudden animate Jack Nicholson's face into the movie.
Let's be honest, you can't exactly control Robin Williams.
100%. Like they knew what they signed up for. Because
Yeah.
I think the same stories that apply to Aladdin apply to Fern Gully. Because like he was batty in that.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Oh my god, it's been so long since I've seen Fern Gully.
Hmm.
It's so funny because like you know me right now with like my interests, like I love the fairies and the fae and everything like that. And I saw the meme where it was like, "Where did your love for fairies start?" And then it just shows a picture of Fern Gully. And if that's not the truest thing I've ever seen, but
Well,
it's also crazy because like Disney. Disney was pretty much the only one at that time because I don't think DreamWorks had really started yet.
yeah, they didn't pick up steam till Shrek, and I think that is
Shrek
very
was in
late
the
90s.
2000s.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say it's like very late 90s
If
or
I'm not wrong,
early
Shrek was like
2000.
Shrek was 2000, at least the
Hmm.
first like 5 years of the 2000s, I would say. 2001.
The
So we
the
were,
the
yeah,
yeah, the only competition Disney would have had in the animated department at that point would be Warner Brothers with the Looney Tunes and
right.
stuff like that.
And I think really the only animated film that had really competed with Disney at that time was what, Anastasia?
Yeah,
And that was Fox, I think. So
that may have been early DreamWorks before
no,
they
that
got.
was its own, that wasn't
Okay.
DreamWorks. Because DreamWorks has that like almost 3D feel to it, but it's not 3D. And Anastasia was more along the lines of Disney animation. I actually believe the gentleman who did Anastasia used to work for Disney and then left. If I'm remembering that correctly, I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
No,
But
you're probably. Oh, so one of the first animated films by DreamWorks is the Prince of Egypt. They
oh my
also,
god.
which was 98, but they also did Ants. But that was CGI. I think that was their first
Right.
venture into CGI.
Holy shit, I forgot DreamWorks did Prince of Egypt.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a flashback I didn't think I was
But
gonna
that's still
have.
98. Like you
Right.
after decades of dominance from Disney. Again, the only thing
Right.
they really had competition wise was probably Warner Brothers
Yeah.
doing Batmans and like anything with their IPs.
I think the time that we're talking about too, because like talking on like the lines of like Nightmare Before Christmas, I mean the Nightmare Before Christmas was totally different from what Disney was doing at that point. Like I said, it was claymation. It was kind of dark. It was kind of weird. And that's not Disney. Disney's light and fluffy and princesses and happy. So it was kind of a different thing, like at that time, where like you almost got the best of both worlds. You got the weird and you're creepy, but you still got the Disney feel to it. The other
Which
thing
is
I also
super. Sorry to derail, but it was
no, you're
super
good to know.
weird that you're gonna take the guy that did Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, and say, "All right, you're
Children's movie.
you're gonna make a Disney movie that
Well,
is
funny
a
enough,
nightmare."
I actually believe that if I'm not wrong, because I remember reading it in when I was a kid, The Nightmare Before Christmas is based off a children's book that Tim Burton wrote.
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, if you look at his film credits before Nightmare Before Christmas, he did Pee Wee's Big Adventure in '85,
Mm-hmm.
which probably caught Disney's attention. And then he did Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, and then he rolled into this.
Yeah.
Like,
So, but if you look up that Nightmare Before Christmas book,
mhm.
you can just see all of the fucking like you can just see every ounce of Tim Burton all over it. You can see his art style because I believe if I'm not wrong, if I'm remembering this correctly, because I did read this book when I was in elementary school, because it is a children's book. It's not big. It's a picture book. If I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure he wrote and illustrated it. I think.
I
Because
wouldn't doubt it because he
yeah,
has he's one of those entrepreneurs that has a credit for like almost everything, like
yeah,
writing, producing, directing. Like he even acted in a few things, not much, but
yeah,
like it's it's weird because like this ultimately kicks off that style when it comes to those
yes.
movies. Like all of a sudden after that, you got what Frank and Weenie, Brides, The Corpse Bride, things like that, and he becomes that kind of like, all right, we're gonna do something animation wise with Tim. It's gonna be in the style of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. And it's so funny. The other thing I also love about these earlier animated films, and it's not, and I feel like it's something that we're missing the mark, and I feel like that's why it might not Disney might not have the magic it used to have. They were all borderline musicals.
Mm-hmm.
I miss having a good Disney movie where like it's got the catchy ass fucking songs. I Moana was great. Don't get me wrong. I couldn't tell you a fucking song from Moana 2 though. But like I want cheesy and dopey and cool. And that is why I kind of miss like a lot of the children's movies at that time. Like most of them were musicals. And it was better that way in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other interesting note with like the Nightmare Before Christmas, it wasn't a massive hit. It did well enough to get like a return on investment, but I think the Nightmare Before Christmas saw its best gains well after its theatrical release.
Oh,
Like
probably.
it's one of those things that ages over time very well to the point where the IP becomes super valuable after its initial theatrical run, because I think it only made like 50 million in its theater release, and I don't know what that would equate to 30 years later, but
So The Nightmare Before Christmas was originally a poem written by Tim Burton in 1982
mhm.
while he was working as an animator for Walt Disney. So that makes sense.
And the crazy like the cast in the Nightmare Before Christmas as well, because
I
like
know.
Pee Wee Herman's in it. He's one of the kids. Catherine O'Hara's one of the kids. Um, it's
Chris
just
Sarandon, he's Ken Page. Like Oogie Boogie's voice everywhere. Like
yeah, that's not someone you can hide. Like it's
no.
crazy, but like the fact that this movie only made like 50 million at the box office, and the first movie we talked about made 500 million. It's crazy. Disney took a big swing on this, and I would say
But it
it's
actually did really well critically though. That's the
for
thing.
sure. I
Because
think
it
they're
got
making more
nominated.
money on it now
Right.
than they did when like they first took the swing.
Well, it was nominated for an Academy Award. It got great reviews, like everything. But I also think that the part of the reason was that because at the time this was something weird. It was something different. This was Tim Burton breaking out of the normal Disney. Because then Tim Burton goes on to do James and the Giant Peach and Coraline. And I think he has another one called Nine that was also incredible.
Mhm.
And actually, I don't think Coraline was him. I think Coraline was Danny Elfman. Or not Danny Elfman. Coraline was Henry Selick. Because that's the thing. So everybody gets a little bit mixed up and they forget that Nightmare Before Christmas was directed by Henry Selick, but it was produced by Tim Burton. And that's the
Mhm.
big thing. Tim Burton did a lot of the producing, even a lot of the work when it came to the claymation.
But it definitely it launched a brand. So like as you're familiar with
Absolutely.
the Pixar brand and the Pixar stamp of on their movies, there was a
Yeah.
Tim Burton stamp going forward on anything that was related similar to that, with like this
Yeah.
weird creepy vibe, but still children related, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Tim Burton definitely found a way to just take that whole weird and peculiar and he trademarked it for himself and he created a brand. Like he knew what he was doing.
Hmm.
100%. But I think that's part of the reason why like both of these movies were like it was just you don't forget them. Like there was something about them that brought you in and made you just love them. And even to this day at my ripe old age of almost 34 years old, if I get bored, I'm gonna watch them. Like I will willingly go put these on if I'm in the mood.
Oh,
And that's
I'm willing to bet if you made Aladdin without Robin Williams, that movie would have flopped. Because that character
the
alone.
only reason.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh, then it
The only
primarily becomes the love story, and you don't have that comedic
right.
relief that stands out. So it was kind of like two subplots running the whole time.
Yeah. And I think the only reason that the live action did as good as it did was because they found the only person who could have filled excuse me. They the only person who could have filled Robin Williams' shoes, which was Will Smith. Because Will Smith had the same vibes and the same energy, but no one's going to be Robin Williams. Nobody. But
Mhm.
I think I will give it to Will Smith in the live action. I think that was the only choice they could have had.
Oh yeah, you can't. Again, you're not going to replace Robin. There hasn't been anyone who's come
No,
after him that is anywhere remotely close to his style or his quick wit. Most comics these days are
in
just
any aspect
cynical.
of his career.
Yeah, and to have Will take a cooler, smooth, like it's still kind of chaotic energy, but like a cool, smooth vibe to it, made it his own while still kind of paying homage to it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, when we move on to the other two, it's just funny that you've got two very different ends of the spectrum when it comes to movies. With the other two, you've got just a straight up romance, a classic literature romance. Which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't normally do classic literature. I haven't read any of them. I don't really follow it because I'm a fantasy girl, obviously. But the way that this movie was done, where it was definitely still with like a classic like time period piece, I just think Keira Knightley and oh god, the guy who what is his name?
McFadden, Matthew
Um
McFadden.
the gentleman who yeah, Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden just absolutely just acted the fuck out of those roles. They were so perfect for what they did within that film, and it's just something that keeps bringing you back because of that. On top of that, the gentleman, Donald Sutherland, who
Mhm.
plays Keira Knightley's dad, he's probably one of my favorite characters in that entire movie, and he has maybe 20 lines total.
This is my rubber for you. Like the movie that you made me watch that I don't want to revisit. I've got PTSD from high school and Jane Austen and her stupid book. Um, it's not a guy flick, but I did it. I watched it.
Absolutely not. Proud of
And,
you. Did you at least okay? You had to tell me you at least enjoyed the dad's character.
oh yeah, and to be honest, I had to watch this in high school because of the book. Um, and this is before Succession and Deadpool and Wolverine, so I didn't give two shits about Matthew McFadden back then. Um, And Donald Sutherland is the saving grace. But then watching it now, it's like, oh, Donald Sutherland's dead. And Keira Knightley's
Right.
fallen off the face of the earth. Which is
I think she
weird
did
because,
that willingly.
well, but it's weird because, like, well, probably because like Keira Knightley to me is Pirates of the Caribbean, and then the decoy in Star Wars Episode 1 that wasn't the real queen.
Yeah, and everybody forgets that she's in episode 1.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this isn't my cup of tea. Mainly because it's based off an 1813 novel. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of old
No,
stuff.
and I get it. I don't blame you.
I
Like
get
I
why
said,
you would
I
like it.
don't blame you. I don't.
You like to you're like a big reader because like every time we have conversations about movies and
Right.
it's got like it's adapted from a novel, you know usually
book,
more about the novel
Yeah.
than the actual film. So if you're being a big reader, I can see why this could be a top film to go see for you.
I just think it's so funny because I didn't watch it until long after it came out. I think I watched it in like 2010. So I didn't see it for the first time after it had been like come out. But also, like I said, I did not read anything from Jane Austen. Never have, probably never will. It's just those don't pull me the way that like other books do. But there was just something about the way the movie was done. I think it was filmed incredibly. I think it was produced really well. Like overall, like it was just such a good, it was such a well done movie. Like for what it was, they did the costuming right, they did the filming right, they gave you little bits of humor here and there to keep it from being, kind of boring. Oh, give me a second. Sorry about that. Uh, but like I think overall, it was just a really cool, well done movie with things like that. And that's also how I feel about Sucker Punch. I will die on the hill that Sucker Punch should have gotten a way more like credit than it deserves. Right now, this is another one with a very like cult following. I just think that when it came out, it was just too smart or like too like deep. I don't know for when it came out.
Well, part of the cult following is also the cult that just follows Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder can't do no wrong. The cast it's an amazing cast. It's weird because like the leads aren't what you remember from this movie. Like I know that like it's a weird saying to say, but you've got guys like Oscar Isaac, John Hamm, like in this movie, and they weren't like the focal point.
But then you've also got people like Carla Gugino and freaking, oh gosh, the girl Emily Browning. Like those were bigger names when this movie came out.
You're not wrong. I mean, like she came off the heels of what, Ghost Ship or whatever. And then like, well, Vanessa Hudgens.
No, that was where this was.
Okay, so when I say off the heels
Yeah,
of
Vanessa Hudgens.
Ghost Ship,
That was
it's
at that
what
point
I knew.
she had Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. But yeah, I think, but I also think that there's so many levels to this movie that people don't give it enough credit. Like, where there was a lot of CGI to it because it's a heavy action film, but it's also the reason it's so heavily CGI'd is because it's her fantasies, it's her dreams, it's her nightmares, actually. But I think the cool thing with it is like, you get levels inside of levels with this because you go from the real world where she's experiencing everything, and then you go to the dream world, which is basically like the world that she created to help her process the fact that she was thrown into a mental institution against her will.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside that dream world, you still have another level to it of her trying to fight back. And then come to find out that like basically everything you're seeing within each world was actually happening was I loved it.
That's fair. I mean, part of like I remember seeing this when it first. I want to say it first came out. I didn't go see it in theaters, but I remember seeing it around the time it came out in 2011. But it's hard to go back and watch any Zack Snyder stuff now after he's done DC, because it's all the same. It's all dark. It's
Right.
like not everything has to be that. And I'm going to assume Deadpool just ruined it even more because he fucking pokes fun of it in Deadpool 2.
Funny enough, I actually got to see this movie before it came out. I am a part of a couple different websites that do movie screenings, and I got offered to go do this one. I got to see it about a 3 weeks, almost a month before it came out.
Mhm.
And I remember that theater was packed when we were there for it. Like, people wanted to see it. We almost couldn't get in. They were able to squeeze us in. Because, like, when they do those, they oversell it because they want the theater full. And
Well, I
I
mean,
remember,
he came off of Watchmen. Watchmen he did in 2009, and like
oh, that makes sense then.
he did Watchmen, then he did Legend of the Guardians, was his next film. But the fact that he did Watchmen is the only reason I went and saw. Well, didn't go see it, but the only reason I would give Sucker Punch a chance, and then gave Man of Steel a chance. And then by the time he
Yeah.
got to Batman v Superman, where they're fighting over a woman named Martha, it solved all the problems. I was like, all right, I'm done with this fucker.
I just think the movie just, it had so much to it that people just didn't first of all, there was no marketing for it either. Like, I don't think most people even know it exists, which is a shame because it was, for Zack Snyder, you're right, it was different. It was still the dark and moody, but it was a little different because it had a really well thought out storyline, in my opinion.
Which is a credit to him. If you really enjoyed the story
Yeah.
to it, he actually co-wrote this. Whereas like Watchmen, he didn't co-write. Like he had no
Well,
writing credit for
Watchmen was
Watchmen.
because Watchmen was a graphic novel.
Yeah, it's based off the graphic novel, so they probably got most of the credit, and then like a team that just kind of put it into a nice little 2-hour movie.
Honestly,
This is
I
his
don't know if
second
they
writing
did
credit.
because I read the graphic novel before the movie, and I found out that they changed a big difference of the movie
Mhm.
versus the book. Like, and it was a big thing the way they did it. And like, I kind of understand why he might have done it because cinematically it might have been hard to do.
Mhm.
Sorry, cinematically it might have been hard to do what he was supposed to do, but also at the same time, there was a reason they did it that way. So for him to change it was kind of silly. Whereas with Sucker Punch, like you said, he wrote it. So like, this
Mhm.
was something that, here's the thing: people are struggling for ideas nowadays. This was something fresh that didn't get the credit it deserves.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to his writing credits, and I'm using air quotes for those listening to the audio version, he wrote 300. He wrote Sucker Punch. He came up with the story for Justice League. He didn't write it, but he helped storyboard it. And then he would go on to write Army of the Dead, and then the Rebel Moon Part 1 and Part 2, which I have not seen. That just
Yeah,
came
I
out in
haven't seen
23
any
and
of those.
24. I don't think they did very well. Because this was like, oh yeah, it was the big Netflix thing. And this came off of the heels of Army of the Dead, which I'll give him credit. Army of the Dead I really enjoyed. That's the
Army of the
one.
Dead was the one in Vegas, right?
Yeah, and the one where they had to put Tig Notaro in there over Chris D'Elia because Chris D'Elia
Oh
had some
yeah.
like shit go down at that time.
To be fair, I think Tig was great, and I'm kind of glad they changed it. So
It had to be two completely different characters because the Tig's approach to comedy versus Chris D'Elia's is completely different. But
yeah,
I'm not knocking Tig's performance. I enjoyed Tig, but like you could clearly tell Tig was not there during the original shooting. Like her scenes were like she's standing off
yeah.
in front of a green screen. It's like, yeah, she's not there.
It's
But
crazy too because that was one of the few movies where I would have liked a sequel, and they set it up for one, but I don't think they're doing it.
well, they did like that prequel with the guy, the German guy that did the vault cracking.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did
Okay.
a prequel with him or something. They did some kind of spin-off with him. But to go back to not completely shit over, I don't like Zack Snyder as a director because everything is shot in that dark, gritty style. But his writing, and which kind of goes back to Sucker Punch,
Yeah.
is good. I liked 300. I liked this Army of Darkness or Army of the Dead, and then Sucker Punch would be third in that. But like these are his three titles that he wrote, and I don't hate the writing on any of them. I hate the cinematography and the directing, but
I think his cinematography and directing could be good if he didn't oversaturate us with it. That's the thing. Like Sucker Punch needed the dark and gritty.
yes. And then Superman did not, because Superman's not supposed to be that.
No,
Superman's supposed to be the
Superman's
light to
supposed
the
to be
dark.
light and right. He's supposed to be goofy and fun and the man who saves everybody.
Yeah, like I think James Gunn may have overdone it on the light side to get away from Zack Snyder, but that was closer to what Superman is than whatever the fuck Man of Steel was. But
Right.
in the sense of Sucker Punch 300 and Army of the Dead, and even to his directing of Dawn of the Dead, which was before 300, I love those. But that it worked for what the story
Yeah.
was. Even Watchmen,
I
I
think
loved it.
Sucker
I
Punch.
loved his style with Watchmen just because that Watchmen's supposed
Yeah.
to be the darker side of comics and superheroes.
Yeah, I think with Sucker Punch, like he just I know it has a cult following, and I think that he probably knows that at this point now. But it's just like it sucks when like a movie like doesn't get the. I hate when movies don't get the credit they deserve right off the bat. Like that, there's gonna be another one in next week's episode that also has a massive cult following, but it's just like so crazy to see like how much people will find it and then give it the love so much longer after it comes out.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think if we ever get to a point on this show, because the big Avengers Doomsday is coming out in December, and we start going through like all the Marvel movies, even if we just do 4, 5, and 6, there's a lot of negativity to films that is just unfair. Like everybody's pissed off because it's not a part of an elaborate plan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Right.
but the movies weren't bad. They could be worse. Remember, we came from an era with like Hulk and then the Incredible Hulk, like these the Fantastic Four before it got to Marvel. Like
I think we're literally like what sucks is like our generation and maybe the generation before us where like they want so and I say this to you guys all the time. They want so much from a movie instead of just letting it be what it's supposed to be, which is entertainment.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it has to be the best thing you've ever seen, but did it entertain you?
well, yeah, and we're in an era where filmmaking can't be as groundbreaking as like Star Wars was revolutionary for its time because a lot of what was done in the first Star Wars is now utilized in films going forward because of Lucasfilms and Lucasfilm Ltd. It's you can't keep getting those like huge moments when it's more abundant. And then we all became critics of like, oh well, they're not doing anything like Avatar. It was amazing when it came out for its visual effects. I don't know if it's amazing now, three movies in.
I
But
think it's also harder because it's like you're like what playing off of what you're saying, like there's only so much new shit that they can do when it comes to making these movies. There's only so many technological advances you're going to find before it's just not anything.
Mhm.
It's kind of like Apple with their phones, right? Like I don't enjoy like I'm not saying that they're the most technologically advanced, but they always act like everything they're doing is such a big deal and it's such a big change when in reality they like tweaked it a little bit. And I think that's kind of the point where we're getting in terms of technological things within the movie realm.
Yep. And I think that's to your point with Sucker Punch not getting its credit. I think Zack Snyder found a winning formula with 300 and then didn't let go of the formula. And then everybody's like, "Oh, he just does the same
Right.
thing over and over again." Well, yeah, that's what you should expect out of a Zack Snyder movie at this point.
So it's kind of like how I feel about books, right? Because like my one friend, she asked me all the time. She was like, "How did you give this book 5 stars?" Like it was not like, "What do you mean?" I said, "At no point did I tell you that this was the best book I've ever written. But the real reason I gave it 5 stars was because I was kicking my feet, giggling the entire fucking time. I
Mhm.
couldn't put the book down. I'm not like, is it a masterpiece? No, absolutely not. But did I read it in less than 48 hours because I genuinely could not stop myself? And I think that's the difference. I think people are losing the idea of letting things entertain them
Mhm.
and they want a masterpiece from everything instead of just sitting down and chilling out for a little while.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. And again, we'll probably approach this topic at some point with Marvel, but I like to hearken to Thor. Everybody shits on Love and Thunder because like, oh, well, he's too goofy and like blah blah blah. Like, if you watched anything from Taika, that's what he does. But also on the same hand, remember how you were so pissed off at Thor: The Dark World? for taking itself way too serious.
Right.
I mean, yes, there's a
Right.
happy medium, which is probably Ragnarok, but when you sign up that director to do the same thing again, that's why they did. Do I think they dropped the ball a little bit on Gore the God Butcher? Yeah, but that might be because Marvel still tries to handle everything from a higher level, and then like you got to find a villain for Thor, and Thor doesn't have many villains out that aren't cross-platform or cross hero that is
Yeah.
worthy of the big screen. And Gore was a huge villain, like, and you got Christian Bale, so you
Right.
set the bar way too high on that one.
Right. I get what you're saying. I think maybe it seems like something along the lines of that. It's like they put too many eggs in the basket for Thor because
Mhm.
not realizing that there wasn't as much for him as there could have been for others, and then kept giving us Thor movies.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened to Zack Snyder. Because like if you just took Zack Snyder's library, Sucker Punch is probably one of the better ones, but it's gonna be hard to
Yeah.
look back at that movie when you have to look past what he did in DC and forgive him for that.
Absolutely. Right. Right. Like you see, like it's hard to like. It's like trusting something because even though you know that they've burned you before.
And which I'm sitting here shitting on Zack Snyder's vision of the DC universe, and I know there are people who will defend that shit until they turn blue and lose
So
oxygen.
they're blue in the face.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's your cup of tea. Zack Snyder's not my cup of tea when it comes to comic books. If he wanted to take up actually,
Right.
he could have ran the Batman IP, and I would have been fine. You gave him Superman. You gave the guy who did Sucker Punch 300 and Dawn of the Dead Superman. He's not going to be successful. And then you give him the Justice League that has Superman. Superman's dead, but then he's got to deal with the Flash. He's got to somehow try to make Aquaman interesting, which the Aquaman movie did, and then also have Wonder Woman. And you just most of those characters in the Batman's the only brooding one, and that's what he brings to
Right.
the Justice League. And you made them all kind of brooding, which is rough.
Sometimes I think with things like this, it like you're trying to give it like you're trying to give it new life, but instead when you're trying so hard that you kind of lose track of what it should be. Like you lose track of the original plot and at the end of it. Like you've got all these cartoon characters who are known for stupid quippy lines, short like silly humor, doing what's right and what's best, and then you throw it on a director who is known for dark and gloomy, you're going to lose the plot.
Yeah, he was kind of set up for failure there. Because if you think about it, you're coming off of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. So you're not
Right.
but Christian, unless it's Christian Bale and Heath Ledger nonstop on the big screen, nobody cares. So and then you also cast Ben Affleck, which I don't think he was a bad Batman, but his backstory wasn't explored. So we were just supposed to accept that like he's seen some shit, and that's why he's there. Like he's worse than what Batman is normally. Like he's shooting people.
Right.
But he was just kind of given like he shouldn't have started with Superman. I get why they did. Like it's the timing on Warner Brothers' part to hand him this universe and say good luck. We want the Avengers. It's like no, yeah, like he was set up to lose out the gate, and now he gets probably most of the hate. When if he just did a Batman thing, and then consulted with like not that Joss Whedon would have saved that franchise, but if like a Joss Whedon who did the first Avengers consulted with like a level of that director of like, hey, I'm going to give you Batman. Here's what Batman's up to. It probably would have been a better movie. Instead, he got Superman and then had to take on the Justice League himself.
Right. I think the problem they did was they put too many eggs into Zach's basket too. They gave him too much of it instead of, like you said, breaking it apart. Do what Marvel did. Have, excuse me, have like one person kind of overseeing it, but not completely in charge of it. Like Marvel doesn't have the same directors at all for the same. Like shit, most of the franchises don't even have the same directors for each movie. Yeah. So it's like sometimes you need to understand like you have to look at what you want from the film and then pick around it and not the other way around. Not pick somebody and have them do it the way like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you took the dark and gritty guy and said, hey, we're giving you because superheroes for the most part are supposed to be uplifting and hopeful, and you took a guy who does very well in his style of dark and gritty like Sucker Punch, and said, okay, just jump in head first. You're going to get one superhero or two superhero movies to set up a team up movie. And you're going to do Man of Steel. You're going to do Man of Steel 2, which was him versus Batman. And then boom, Justice League. And you're not going to talk to the people doing Aquaman or Wonder Woman, who their movies on their own did fine, but you didn't have that Kevin Feige to kind of
Right.
direct the overall flow. And then he gets a lot of hate for it. And then movies like Sucker Punch don't get looked at as fondly because it's like, oh, this is the guy that fucked up Justice League.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm not going back to that restaurant. They served me bad food once.
Yeah. And it could have that cook could have had a bad day. It could have been a bad shipment.
Right.
And now that restaurant's forever scarred.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's just so funny to like, and I forgot that Zack Snyder did that. If I'm being honest, like I said, I rewatched it the other night, 2 weeks ago. And at the end, when the credits were on, it was like Zack Snyder. And I was like, yo, fuck, I forgot about that. So it's just so funny because, like, even though that is his vibe, I didn't realize it was him because it was just such, like, so well done.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion. And then it's just, Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Again, there's such a because if we would have had this conversation before Man of Steel, and I didn't even hate Man of Steel. I thought Man of Steel was I was able to digest that up until he killed Zod, but
yeah,
I really liked Dawn of the Dead. I really liked 300, and Sucker Punch was good. I wasn't over the moon. I loved Watchmen. Like he wasn't striking out. I just think now that when you had to try to have the conversation with me after everything that came after Sucker Punch, it's tough to go back. But well, yeah, fuck that guy. Just because now I don't like his style because he's oversaturated.
Yep, it was just a matter of oversaturating us with him, and not in a good way. Like
with IPs I cared about. So it's like, hey,
right.
If he was just doing Watchmen. Like we talked about, if you gave him Batman, probably would have been fine. Gave him like a Moon Knight or something in Marvel, or like Blade.
Right.
It'd be like, yeah, that's his style. That's the guy you want. No, go do the character that means hope, and then shoot the thing with a fucking dark tint the whole time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Warner Brothers' fault.
I mean, I think you're 100%. It's usually Warner Brothers' fault.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like with a movie like Sucker Punch, like the only way that you're gonna love it is if you're in that cult following. Like I am in that cult. Like I love it. I think it's weird. I think it's different. But like I think that's the thing. It was weird and different in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of like same thing with like The Night Before Christmas definitely has a cult behind it. That is
and you're not asking Tim Burton to go direct Superman. So like
no, because he would tell you to go fuck off.
You would get a Zack Snyder-esque Superman. Like all of his, why is Superman gaunt and like looks like he needs a sandwich?
Played by Johnny Depp.
Played by Johnny Depp, and then Lois Lane is Helen Bonham Carter. Like what? I'm going to flip the script on you, though, before we get away from the show and close up. You said the next two, this episode and the next episode, we're doing your top 8. So before we went on the air, you said this is your 5 through 8. Rank them.
Okay. So I would probably say, let's see. I would probably go Pride and Prejudice, Sucker Punch, The Night Before Christmas, Aladdin.
And that's 8 to 5? Or is that 5 to 8?
Yeah.
Okay, so Pride and Prejudice is your just made it into your 8th. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just curious, because if we do this exercise with me, I expect you to ask me the same question. And then I'm going to tell you I hate you because I
have every intention to.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to pick fucking 8, especially since you pick Aladdin.
I will say we can revisit Aladdin if we need to, but I will say I did struggle to pick 8.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little tough to pick 8 because it's such a weird number too. But I was like, what movies do I love? And that was the funnier part. I was like, fuck, because I was struggling really bad with the Christmas ones too. I swear that's not the reason we didn't do it. But it was just hard for me to be like, what do I fucking like? Like the minute I try to think of what I want, I blank.
Well, looking at, because I spoiler alert, I know the next 4, and you don't have to announce until we drop the episode. But 5 out of the 8, I get. They're very similar. Pride and Prejudice sticks the hell out. Aladdin, Aladdin, and one of the ones on your next list kind of stick out too. But 5 of them got your emo vibes, so I get it.
Most of them are. I think for most of them, it's also the fantasy parts that that bring me in, because you've got what, like, let's see.
Well, 2 of them are upbeat stories, upbeat animation, and then one of them is a fucking British novel from 1813, which that is like a weird outlier. And then the other 5.
I never said I make sense.
But the other 5 kind of have a theme. They're dark, emo-ish, brooding. Really dark messages and views on life and society. So, yeah, I get it. The fucking Pride and Prejudice throws me off.
It's messy.
Okay.
I never said I make any sense. So, well, I think that's just about wraps us up for this week. So what do you got going on, Dace?
A lot of stuff. We're in the new year. So we got the weekly protocol that drops every Thursday. We've got the monthly protocol, which will be airing live on Twitch once a month. The first one will be happening tomorrow night after this drop. Or wait, when are we dropping this? We dropping this the 16th or the 23rd?
Probably tomorrow.
Okay, so it's going to happen on the 24th. We'll be at Adventureland for the monthly protocol from 7 to 9. And we're going to try to do a monthly show from there to help prep and get you pumped up for the Game-a-thon, which is April 10th to the 12th. The second day will be from Adventureland as well. The Jersey Fanatics will return next Wednesday. Free agency is kind of winding down. Phillies haven't made any blockbuster moves. That's why we really haven't done a show in a while. And then our streams, Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Friday, on Basement Protocol's Twitch. So check those out. After we get done recording, I'll have dinner. And we'll be we're doing Kingdom Hearts on Thursday in our lead up for the Disney theme. So I'm going to try to play through the first Kingdom Hearts, which will set up the other two. The other 2 will set up for the Game-a-thon for other people to play. But I've never finished Kingdom Hearts. So.
Neither have I.
I think I got to the Alice in Wonderland world, and that's it. Which I think is like the first one after Traverse Town.
I could not tell you how far I got.
And I own them all. So like I've bought this damn game every time it's come out. But yeah, a lot going on.
That means nothing.
No, I know it does.
That means nothing for you.
It doesn't. Even though that I'm being pushed to stream more, so now I'm actually playing these titles. But a lot going on, and you can catch all of it at facebook.com/Basement Protocol Productions and Twitter @the BPP Official. We post everything on there that we're doing, and we have a TikTok now, which I'm trying to keep up on. Not doing it well, but the BPP Official as well.
Well, I am still in the works of making what I was trying to do with my own version of Mosh Pit Confessionals. I have been writing all the episodes out, so keep an eye out for that, because that should be happening soon. I swear it's going to. Life's just been... I just was dying for a month straight, so that didn't help.
Oh, I get it. Dace Tackett and mine's still on the burner. That's why I didn't bring it up.
Right. So, but other than that, guys, we will see you again in 2 weeks, and then we will hopefully also see you behind the silver screens. Have a good night, guys.